All right, so guys, today I'm going to be talking about the seismic college football news. Surprising for sure, Nick Saban officially retiring. Not shocking though, we knew it was a possibility. Saban, I would say, if I had to guess before the announcement that surprised everyone yesterday, maybe he would have 2 or 3 years left in him, but he is officially retiring. And Alabama obviously left scrambling here trying to replace him. In this day and age, NIL, transfer portal, it's easier to leave than ever before. You've already got a 5-star receiver decommitting from Alabama who actually came up a class. He was a 2025 receiver, changed to 2024, reclassified 5-star, and he is reconsidering his options. The first thing I want to do is I want to calm everyone down. Alabama, I'm sure they're going to be able to keep a lot of these kids. Obviously, they have a ridiculously talented roster that's going to be potentially poached by a lot of teams, or at least a lot of teams are going to come calling. But certainly, Alabama will keep their fair share of really good players. When it comes to the potential odds on who their next head coach will be, right now it is fairly agreeable that Dan Lanning, the Oregon coach, is the current favorite at around plus 300. Dabo Swinney, this is just my personal opinion. I think there's next to around a 0% chance of that happening. Dabo Swinney is just not a fit at Alabama. I know it's always been the thought, once Nick Saban retires, Dabo Swinney will take over for Alabama. That was kind of like the dream scenario for Alabama fans 3 or 4 years ago. Dabo Swinney's kind of come down a little bit in terms of, I'm sure he's still a very attractive coach, but the transfer portal issue, he doesn't like going into the portal. He's struggled the past few years. It just doesn't seem like a fit, Dabo Swinney in Alabama, but you can understand it with the ties in the past. You do have Mike Norvell there as well, the FSU coach who had a very nice year, Florida State going undefeated, with their roster. Part of that is aided by the ACC being bad, but Norvell definitely had a solid year. James Franklin sitting plus 650. I'd be very surprised if Alabama went the James Franklin route, although I do think James Franklin is a very good coach. And not that he doesn't get a fair shake, but it does seem like people seem to hate on James Franklin too much. The issue is he can't beat Ohio State or Michigan. It is what it is. He has normally less talent than both of those teams. Lane Kiffin sitting plus 700. I doubt Alabama would do something like that. Lane Kiffin jumps from team to team to team. There's no stability there. I don't think Alabama's going to go for him. Kellen DeBoer sitting around plus 2,000, or plus 1,500. Be very surprised if it was him either. Going from Washington to Alabama is ridiculously hard. It's a completely different culture. We've seen smaller school coaches go to big-time SEC schools and really struggle. Auburn's last coach, Mike Vrabel, plus 2,000. Yeah, Vrabel hates recruiting. It's not happening. Of course, you got to throw in Deion Sanders, plus 5,000. I don't know, man. Deion Sanders recruiting at Alabama would be ridiculous. He'd have to hire a great defensive staff. Honestly, he could do it. Like, Deion Sanders going to Alabama, the amount of 5-star recruits they'd get, I don't know how great they'd be on the field, but they would have probably the best talent in the nation, and then other sitting plus 900. So maybe a different coach that's not talked about here, but I would expect Dan Lanning to be the front runner for this job, which sets up a very interesting dilemma for Dan Lanning and also Oregon, because you have to think, right now everyone is saying, oh, Alabama's the greatest job ever. Look at what Nick Saban did. I don't know if that's true, because you're going to Bama, you're trying to replace Nick Saban. It's not like you're going to be getting paid a ton more money. It's not like this crazy pay raise. Oregon already pays a ton with Nike and everything like that, and you're going to be facing a tougher schedule. There's going to be more pressure on you to win right away, replacing Nick Saban. So I don't know if Dan Lanning would really be up for a job like that. You're at Oregon. You're in a great spot right now. You're building something. Their NIL is through the roof. They just got you 2 quarterbacks. One quarterback who already has significant experience starting big-time Power 5 games in Dylan Gabriel. He's going to come in this next year as you make your move to the Big Ten. You're possibly the betting favorite to win the Big Ten in your first year if you are Oregon and Dan Lanning, and then you've got Dante Moore after that. So that's just a culture thing for Dan Lanning. Does he possibly want to go back down to the South? And I'm sure he'd get a pay raise there, whatever. It'd just be kind of weird. Now, switching gears, we'll see what Alabama does. I'm thinking Dan Lanning right now the favorite, maybe Dabo Swinney, although that's very unlikely. Mike Norvell could be in the mirror as well. Maybe he gets a pay raise from FSU to stay there. There's a lot of different options for Bama. We're going to have to see how this develops. I'm sure they're going to have to do something relatively soon. This day and age in college football, everything happens so quickly. Kids decommit, they enter the portal. You've got to get a coach in there. There has to be stability as soon as possible. You don't want to rush a major hire like this. Maybe they'll stay in-house, although I'd be shocked. Ohio State did do that. When Ohio State's job came open with Urban Meyer, it was basically, it wasn't even open. They just gave it to Ryan Day. And, I mean, you could say that hasn't worked out now. Ryan Day sitting 1-3 against Michigan. Michigan just won the national title. But Ryan Day does have a very good record. Either way, shifting gears to Jim Harbaugh. What is the situation surrounding him? The last 2 years, we've seen him take meetings with the Minnesota Vikings as well as the Denver Broncos. Now it looks like it's the Los Angeles Chargers with Justin Herbert trying to retool. They've got a very talented roster. Look at these odds. Plus 150 right now, the current favorite to be the Chargers' next head coach. Not the head coach of an NFL team, basically saying he'll return to Michigan. That's around plus 300. The Commanders plus 600. I'd be surprised if he took the Commanders' job. The Raiders are kind of interesting, but they need a quarterback. The Panthers, I'd be surprised. The Falcons plus 900. They've got a good roster, but they need a quarterback. Any other team, the Patriots and the Bears. So right now, I would say the way the Jim Harbaugh situation is developing, it's the Chargers or a return to Michigan. That seems like the most logical two options, and a lot of people predicting this year to be different than the last 2 years because Harbaugh is going to be facing a significant suspension from the NCAA. It was possibly going to be 2 or 3 games. Well, now we've got the cheating scandal, which likely will up that. Remember, the Big Ten, where they barely even investigated, they suspended Harbaugh for 3 games. Imagine what the NCAA can find. I'm not saying Michigan's going to get their national title taken away, but it's going to be a suspension for Harbaugh, and this is an opportunity for him to ride off into the sunset, say, screw you. I went 15-0. I won the national title. I did it while, also having the 3-game suspension. We came back. We beat Alabama. We beat Ohio State. And he can just go to the NFL. It's like he's done his job at Michigan at this point. You would think he could close that chapter in his life after winning the title and not dealing with all this crap that Michigan might have to deal with in the future. But either way, we will see. I do think right now the Chargers are the favorite, although with Harbaugh, there's really no telling what he's going to do. He's very unpredictable. I think we should just let that situation play out, but based on all of the data we have, I would say Harbaugh's gone from Michigan. Moving on, I did see these updated new 2024 college football title odds expanding to the 12-team playoff. These are going to change, I'm guessing, with Nick Saban gone, but you can see Georgia sitting plus 350, returning their quarterback. You've got Alabama. You do have Ohio State down at plus 800, Michigan plus 900. There's going to be a lot changing with these preseason odds, I would assume, considering there actually is a lot of hype surrounding Ohio State right now, possibly going after some Alabama transfers, as well as just getting guys back, several guys opting to return for the Buckeyes. Also, maybe Trevion Henderson coming back, getting the superstar running back from Ole Miss, Will Howard. I don't know, man. Ohio State should be really good next year. Michigan, of course, they've beaten Ohio State 3 straight times. They might lose Harbaugh. We'll see. You do have Texas. They've got a huge non-conference game with Michigan next year on the road, but with Quinn Ewers likely returning, that should be a good game. You do have Oregon there as well. I've seen some sports books with Oregon as the favorite in the Big Ten, but obviously not this one, considering they've got Oregon lower than Ohio State. You do have Ole Miss, kind of a sexy team there, returning a lot. But I don't know, man, losing Judkins, that's a tough loss. LSU and Clemson. Although I will say, to be fair to Ole Miss, running backs, it's not a do-or-die position. So them losing a star running back, it's tough, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And then you can see LSU losing Jaden Daniels, and then Clemson sitting plus 2,000. Dabo Swinney maybe going to Alabama. I'd be very surprised based on, how he's handled the transfer portal. If he'd actually go to Alabama, the next coach at Alabama is going to have a lot of pressure. That is for sure. And then maybe, I'll do an NFL video next, but Bill Belichick possibly retiring, maybe going to a different team. A lot of speculation. Both Nick Saban and Belichick here, 2 coaching behemoths. The bigger surprise, though, certainly with Nick Saban retiring. And I would imagine, this is another thing that's important to think about, Nick Saban, because of the relationship he has with Alabama, that program, he's probably going to help Alabama in finding their next coach. Maybe he's already got someone in mind, but I would imagine he would certainly want to leave on good terms and kind of hand it off to someone, kind of like Urban Meyer did with Ryan Day. I'd imagine Saban would be like, all right, just get this guy, get him in quickly. We don't want to lose many people to the transfer portal. There's going to be players that decommit, get them back, and we'll have to see what Alabama will be able to do. There's a lot of speculation going around about their roster. This is Alabama. I do think they'll be able to retain a lot of talent, but we will see. Either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.